Good.
Okay, your audio is live.
I call the Township of Aleppo Legislative Commissioners meeting of September 19th, 2022 to order at 7 o'clock. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
President Jones,
Present.
Commissioner Darrow,
Present.
Commissioner Haluka,
Here.
Solicitor Stone,
Here.
Manager Patterson. Here.
This meeting is recorded, uploaded to YouTube, and can be viewed anytime, any place. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of the August 15th meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And we have a presentation of the 2021 audit. Would you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Kim Turnley. As Gwen mentioned, she had done the agenda before Mark, before we realized that Mark was unable to be here, so I'm standing in his place to review the audit for you. I may have been here one other time. I think I have been here one other time. So for any of you that I met before, nice to see you again. Those of you I've not met, I'm Mark's wife. I am also a CPA. We generally split up the jobs, so Mark is in charge of some of them, I'm in charge of others. So sometimes I see certain clients, and other times I may not see you for a long time. Anyway, I don't want to take up too much of your time tonight. I'm going to kind of go through this similar to what Mark does. And you all have a draft audit report in front of you. And as Gwen may have mentioned already, the audit report has not been reviewed by you guys yet. So this is coming to you in draft format so that you can take a look at it, make sure you don't see any issues, have any questions, see any minor typographical errors, anything that you find that needs changed. At that point, once you give the okay, then we put it in final covers. There'll be no changes to major things. No, the numbers won't change, nothing like that. It would just be if anything, would be small that you would want to address. And also sometimes in the MD&A, which I know Mark always mentions every year, I do as well in my presentations, the MD&A, which is the management's discussion and analysis, is the report at the beginning of the audit report, right past our independent auditor's report. That's kind of a synopsis of the year. It gives you some good information if you wanted to read just that and not go through the whole report itself. But a lot of times people will want to make small changes to that, maybe additions, things like that. So that could be something you guys want to do, but you have that opportunity, and then Gwen will let us know when you're ready for a final, the final PDF copy that you can then distribute outside of the township office. One thing real quick I want to mention, and I know we like to mention this every year, is that you received an unmodified opinion on your financial statements. You are one of our few clients that do your financial statements in accordance to generally accepted accounting principles, meaning you take it to the highest level of accounting that you possibly can, which is good because there's every piece of financial information that you possibly could want required by GAAP is in this report. Your fixed assets are identified, your long-term debt, everything is in these numbers. Also, for any of you who have not been on the board, or anyone here that's not been present for a presentation like this, I'm just going to make another quick mention that because you do everything in compliance with GAAP, you get two sets of financial statements in this audit report. You get what we call the modified accrual statements, which are the statements that you would generally review and look at. It's the way you budget on the modified accrual basis of accounting. Then there's another set of financial statements. They're full accrual statements. Those are the statements that include all your long-term debt, any pension liability that you have, all your fixed assets, any long-term assets and liabilities that are not included in those modified accrual statements. And again, those are there to give you a broader picture of the health of the township. There are two letters that Mark did for you. You get these every year. One of them is, we call a SAS 114 letter. It's a required communication letter, basically a boilerplate letter. From year to year, we don't see much change in this letter. It's just certain things now are required to be put in writing, and they threw a bunch of different things in here. Nothing really exciting in here to talk about. If we had any kind of issues during the audit with getting information, or we had any disagreements, with Gwen on posting, proposed posting of any kind of entries, audit entries. That's required to be put in this letter now. And I really have done this for so many years now. I haven't had anybody that has any situation like that. So, like I said, boilerplate letter, but we have to give it to you every year. The second letter is something that you may want to take a closer look at, and this is something that you may just want to look at if you're not the real financial type on the board and you just want to get a quick overview. This letter is kind of a nice little, again, synopsis of what happened for the year. The first page talks about your general fund balance, and it's a snapshot of what your general fund, now this is just general fund only, has been from the end of 17 through the end of 2021. So you can see that your fund balance has generally gone up. You had a couple years in there, 17 and 19, where it slightly went down. What that means in general is that when your fund balance goes up from year to year, it means that your revenues are exceeding your expenses. If your fund balance goes down from one year to the next, it means your expenses exceeded your revenues. So we like to see your fund balance going up, but there's obviously situations and times where that doesn't happen. Your budget, you're budgeting, as best you can, but there's times when things come up unexpectedly. Your revenues are a little under what you anticipated. Any sort of thing could happen that would drive your expenses to be a little bit over what you anticipated for the year. In this case, in 2021, that did not happen. Your expenses actually were lower than your revenue by about $275,000. So your fund balance, your general fund balance increased for the year 2021. And I know Mark mentions this every year to you guys as well. The GFOA recommends a couple months of unassigned fund balance based on your total general fund expenditures, 2 months of general fund expenditures. You guys are actually over that. And you have at 12/31/21 an unassigned fund balance of $1,373,000. So you were above that benchmark that the GFOA sets. Second page of this report again gives you like a 5-year look back. Again, this is the general fund because it's the most important fund that you have, the largest fund. 5-year look back on what your revenues did and what your expenditures did for those 5 years. On the third page, you get a little bit of a budget to actual, just a down and dirty quick on what went up and down. I always point everyone in this direction because this is probably one of the best schedules to look at. And I'll say actually 2 of them in the back. Schedules 1 and Schedules 2, and Schedule 2 rather. That's the detailed budget to actual for your revenues and then your expenditures. So that would go line item by line item in the general fund, what you budgeted, what your actual was, and then what you were under and over budgets. That's a nice couple of schedules to take a look at if you want to look at more detail. This letter just generalizes it and gives you the highlights of the major categories of expense in the management letter. Let's see. Other than that, you've got a couple of other governmental funds. You have your liquid fuels fund and you have a stormwater fund. I think that's new for 2021. And you did transfer some money into that fund from the general fund. So if you wanted to take a quick look at Exhibit G, this is again another nice exhibit that shows you a little bit more detail than that management letter. What you budgeted for in your major categories of revenues and expenses, what your actuals were, and then how you finished the year based on what you budgeted. So if you look way down at the bottom, and you'll notice that your net change in fund balance, which you budgeted for, was a small deficit of about $97,500. What you ended with is a positive of $274,000. So the swing was about $371,000 better than what you expected when you did your budget for 2021. But this is also a nice little clean, shortened version of the budget to actual, so that you can see on a
And that's page 7.
more broader. Yeah, that's page 7. I'm sorry, I said Exhibit G. That's page 7. Yes. And then you can see right there too that you had some transfers out. You transferred $230,000 out to your other governmental funds. One of them was the stormwater, and then you also have a capital improvement fund as well. And there was money transferred into that as well. That made the total of that $230,000 that was taken out of the general fund. So That's all I have as far as overview of the financials. Does anybody have any general questions for me on the numbers that you just had a chance to look at just now? Or any other general questions about? I know that we've talked about, I think in the past, Mark has mentioned, you've talked about assigned and unassigned fund balance, you know, those sort of topics. So if anybody has anything like that.
I have a question.
Sure.
So you mentioned that unlike most of your clients, we actually do have the highest level of accounting standard, I forget what it's called.
Yeah,
GAAP?
gap accounting,
GAAP
right.
accounting, right. Why is that?
Because the DCED does not require you to have gap accounting. They allow you to have cash basis statements. I'm not in favor. I'm not a fan of cash basis statements because they're truly, there's a lot of ways to hide things when you have cash basis because it's what you put in cash, what you pay out in cash. I've had clients that have had, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars in accounts payable, but their statements for one particular area look okay because they just didn't pay those bills. I'm not a fan, but there are a lot of our small municipalities that only do the modified accrual. Remember I said you guys get two sets. They only go to the modified accrual level. They don't raise the level to putting in all the other stuff that you do. We really, honestly, it's a handful. Robinson does it, Sewickley, Chippewa, who else? North Huntington we have. But a lot of our clients do maintain on that lower level of accounting. But the DCD just does not force it, so. And sometimes it's staffing. They don't feel like dealing with all the extra work. They feel like that's involved with getting the extra reporting, you know, information.
Okay, I was
So that's
just
part of it.
curious.
Yep. School districts, they're required. They have no choice. They have to be GAAP compliant.
Thank you. Anybody have any comments
Yes.
or questions?
Is there any time deadline for comments back?
Did you say how much time?
Is there any time deadline for
No,
comments?
that's completely up to you guys.
For me, I do have to file this, a copy of the audit by September 30th to comply with our bond stuff. So I will have to file
Before that
before that.
time.
I have to
Yeah.
file that. So any comments that would result in any kind, I mean, like Kim said, the numbers can't change, like we can't.
Yeah,
we can't
because
change
it's
that.
not, yeah.
But if you have anything that you have a question about, questions can come later, but as far as me needing a final copy to file online, I will need that by, you know, for a couple days
Yeah,
before.
a couple days
Set
before.
a
it's gonna
deadline,
take time.
Gwen.
Let's see the calendar. Next week, like 1 week, if you have any comments.
Monday?
Yes, please. That way I can get the comments.
Yeah,
sent to
then
them,
we'll turn
I
around
can
and
get
make the
copy back.
changes. And then we'll get Gwen a final PDF copy, which then can
Then I can do that.
be distributed. And then the final bound, just let us know how many final
Yes.
bound, if you want bound at all. And then we'll get you the final bound copies and you guys can have those for your files if you choose to have that. Some people now choose just a few bound copies and the
Yeah.
final PDF goes to you in your email and you save it in your computer and that's it. That's all people want. But that's completely up to you. We'll do whatever.
When is your drop dead date?
My drop dead date is the 30th, so I need it, if you could get comments to me by next Monday, which is, I don't know what date that is.
26.
26th. That doesn't mean we can have questions and about it afterwards. Like if you read this and you go, oh, I never understood what this is for.
Yeah,
anytime.
It's highly unlikely we'll find a number changing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
possible we have some comments.
Yeah.
And our treasurer couldn't be here tonight.
Yeah, that's what Gwen said.
He'll review this as well.
Yeah, and Gwen has Mark's email and phone number. If he has any questions that he would like to direct to
Yeah.
Mark specifically, Mark would be glad to answer any other questions or, make any changes that you have, and we'll certainly, get those changes done ASAP as soon as Gwen lets us know what they are and get that to her right back so she can do her filing.
Any other questions or comments? So thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're very
Well done.
welcome.
Okay, here's the,
Oh, great, thank you, perfect. All right, enjoy the rest of your meeting, and it was nice to see all you folks.
Thank you.
Have a nice night.
Chief,
Good evening. How's everyone tonight? All right, for the month of August, we had a total of 49 calls. 29 of those would be EMS assist, one residential alarm. It happens though, right? Animal complaints, just loose dogs here and there. Just a reminder to residents to do the best you can to have them on leashes or on leads, if possible. Other than that, relatively quiet month of August. We just completed the last weekend, on this previous weekend here, at the I-79 southbound shutdown.
Hallelujah.
Lots of traffic, however, as I stated before, this following weekend is the next closure. So,
It's closed again this weekend.
yes, it's closed again this upcoming weekend. That should be it, though. They had 4 scheduled, and this upcoming weekend will be the 4th. We do what we can, the best that we can. We have some assistance from other police departments helping us out on the shifts, but it is a lot of traffic. So plan your weekend accordingly. It does take at least an hour on the route that they have to get around. So again, try to plan your weekend accordingly, and if there's any issues, let me know. Other than that,
I have the traffic accidents we've
Redgate?
had on Redgate.
Yeah.
We have it lower in the agenda, but while Chief is here, we
Yeah.
can talk about it. There were 2 rollover accidents in the last 10 days at the bottom of Redgate. They technically happened in Hayesville, so it was not our police department, it was not our fire company that was called to be the first responders. But they happened because tractor trailers were going down Redgate, and this is a problem that we've had residents talking about, we've talked to PennDOT about. Go down Redgate, lose their brakes at some point, and then they made it over the 1-lane bridge at the bottom and then rolled over into the hillside, and
Which
it's
is
happened
miraculous.
twice. And there are houses at the bottom of that hill, so if they lost their brakes and lost control, they could go the other way into houses.
absolutely.
Hayesville's mayor, our president, has contacted the Quaker Valley COG to try to get some help to coordinate with the communities with PennDOT. I was included in that and responded immediately saying we are definitely interested in a very imminent meeting with PennDOT about signage before they get to Redgate. Because once they get onto Redgate, it's too late. There's nowhere to turn around, and once they start down the hill, there's nothing they can do. So we want to get signs. These are all state roads. Deer Run is a state road, Merriman is a state road, and PennDOT's a state road. So we need their permission to do anything on them, or we need them to do it. But we have some large signs that we would like them to put up, or we give us permission to put up, we'll order, together
I'll buy
we'll
the
do it.
signs. I went down and spoke with the gentleman, the driver of that vehicle, and I said, what could I have done to stop you? What there, signs, people, whatever. And obviously an experienced driver just made a very poor decision. He saw the weight limit sign. He said, I saw that. I just felt that I could probably make it, as they typically do when they see those things. They're able to make it half the time and they're good to go. This circumstance was obviously different for him. So he said, if you just had, this was the gentleman speaking, the driver, another sign just saying no large trucks. He said, I probably would have just stopped and figured something else out, knowing that that wasn't right. So in speaking with the township manager, we looked up a few signs. Obviously, it's a PennDOT road. That stops you right there from just doing anything that you want there, right? So we do need to work with PennDOT and make that happen, but I'm willing to buy the signs, a big semi-trailer with an X through it, whatever, right? To get the point across to them. And not just 1, maybe 2, 3 signs, as the manager was saying, I think would be effective. It can't hurt, right? It definitely can't hurt. Yes, sir.
And yeah, there's one, George, you had mentioned there's a sign down in the Leedsdale Industrial Park or somewhere down there that has a big
Yeah,
tractor
not a
trailer that says
GPS
not a
route.
truck GPS route.
But, yeah, right.
Quaker Village Shopping Center.
Yeah,
I'm sure we will find the most extreme warning sign we can.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. And we actually put a sign up this afternoon that we had in the garage that said, I think, no through trucks, or I don't exactly the wording. There's a PennDOT sign post right there as you already turn onto Redgate that says weight limit 10 tons, 2,500 feet ahead. And we had a sign that said no through truck traffic, and we attached it to that post this afternoon.
Well, but if it's on Deer Run and Merriman.
We want it
says
there. We want it
no left turn.
before they get there, yes. So
Something
I will-
indicating definitely that
Yeah.
large semi-trailers need to turn around here now, stop
Yeah.
now, something.
Yeah, well, my guess is, since it's a PennDOT controlled situation, if you meet with them, they're probably gonna have a list of approved signage,
Signage.
and you're not gonna be able to design anything you want. they're probably gonna have approved signs that you can put up.
Well,
So-
they've been contacted, they are scheduled to meet, Gwen, or at least?
We don't have a meeting scheduled yet, but we, you know, today emails went out again saying, oh, this was another one in 10 days, let's meet now. And it's our understanding that the chief of Cochrane Hose Company also contacted someone at PennDOT because they're the responders to the accident and
Right.
said, we need
Can't,
So
something
the,
to do with
can't we
this.
put up signs that are outside the right of way?
And like in our yard here, I mean, really, like in our front yard here,
I
this,
mean,
yeah.
where does PennDOT have any say in what's going on outside of their right of way?
I doubt they do.
the answer is you could, as long as it's obviously within that right of way and not contradicting any kind
Other signs?
of their signs or laws, right?
Right.
But you should be able to, as long as it's within your right of way and not contradicting anything there.
So the tractor trailer with the X on it through it might work on your yard, but maybe would not be an approved sign by PennDOT. But you could do it, right?
Well, until PennDOT takes the time to meet with us and give us an authority, seems to me we ought to try to do something on our own.
I will say that I spoke with the state trooper, obviously that's state police jurisdiction down there. I spoke with the state trooper who was effectively doing the accident report for that. They contacted their truck inspection team to come out and all that. So it's very well documented. This gentleman driver will have some serious fines, substantial fines that go with it. So it's not, they didn't just write it off. They pulled out their teams to go from one end of that truck to the other end and, you know, make all the determinations of safety and all that. So it's well documented, and PennDOT should be aware, since that is the second one within a small amount of time frame, that stuff does tend to cause some ripples in PennDOT to say, hey, we got an issue, right? So hopefully they'll, you know, meet with us.
I saw that this is not a GPS route, I think just the day before yesterday, and I'm like, dang, that's a good idea, because that takes.
The gentleman said he was following his GPS 100%. He's like, just follow my GPS,
Right.
flat out, period,
Yeah.
right? Now, again, you know.
GPS says I can do it, I can do it.
Yeah, exactly. Now, because it's a PennDOT road, that's why it shows up on their GPS. The GPS signal figures, if it's PennDOT road, it's going to be able to handle all this, but obviously it's not.
Did our Public Works Department put the last sign up?
The one that they put up this afternoon,
Yes.
they did put it up this afternoon.
Could the three of you gather together and consider what could go on our property short-term?
Sure,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I think off the right-of-way, big, no left-hand turn, 250 feet, or whatever.
Mhm.
You know, make it brazen.
I agree.
We can talk
Like I
about
said,
that and order one this week.
Yeah, it can't hurt. It can't, I know sometimes drivers ignore signs, but, you know, typically the semi-drivers drive, when they're in unfamiliar territory going up, he was driving slow initially, all right? 'Cause he was like, I'm not sure, something's not right. So he would have caught signs coming up, I think, and, you know,
Well,
it
and
doesn't
when you
hurt.
first turn onto Redgate, the top part is
You
a
don't know.
wide open country road. It looks lovely.
That's
You don't
right.
realize till you start to go down, that's when the trucks go,
There's
uh-oh,
nowhere to
and
go,
there's
right.
nowhere to turn around.
Except they're violating a sign right from the get-go.
Yeah.
So,
Weight limit
Let's help
ahead. That caught my attention. It says weight limit 2,500 feet ahead. It doesn't say right here.
but that's kind of after you make the turn. That's too late. So
It is.
let's investigate putting something like right over there on our property.
Yeah, it would be in our front yard. That's our property is in our.
But the
like,
closer
here.
to Merriman and Redgate, the better.
That'd be
Right.
kind of here on the hillside, if we could
Right.
get it.
We'll take a look at it, I'm sure.
Here instead of having to turn in the neighborhood.
Yeah, turn on North Drive and loop
Yes,
around.
If
We
they,
can-
if they
Not-
get
not-
stopped here, then they can
Turn,
turn.
yeah.
I think before we do anything, we'll obviously show you what we have in mind to make sure we're not,
Well, absolutely, we'll discuss, and I'll get offline with the township manager, and we'll figure something out, right?
good. All right, well, we've got things in motion.
Any other questions or concerns? No? Okay. All right, thank you,
Thanks.
Brenda.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
Emergency management.
Your emergency management coordinator is tired. PEMA just changed the entire certification program for emergency management coordinators. There's they threw out all the certifications, and we have to be recertified at 2 different levels. First level requires 265 odd hours of education with 50 additional continuing education units a year, and then the second one is, I think, 300 hours. I have 190 of 235 done. I'm working on it. My goal is to be done by the end of the year, and since because our township is A, and all of our EMS and fire identification is 101, we need to be the first township that has the new certification. It's just a thing in my head, I don't know why, but we're getting there. We should be done by the end of the year. That's all I have. Oh, this is also a year to redo the emergency operation plan, so
2023 or 2?
2023.
Excellent.
Public Works.
A lot of, trying to finalize a lot of the grass cleanup around the township now that the season's winding down. They hung some signs, we had weight limit signs, we ordered those from Weber Road after the weight limit was set there for those roads, those signs are up. They've had to do some work to the salt building, which is behind the Public Works garage, the wall in the back, it bows out a bit. So they've had to do some like cable tie repairs to that, so that's something just to, it's not a next year project, but down the road, we may need to replace that building at some point, structurally, and getting some information from our surrounding municipalities for perhaps different kinds of buildings that they use that will not have flexing problems. So that's just something to think about for the future. And general stuff, have some new maps hung in the hallway here, the water and sewer system maps that we got from Bankson, so we have those. And, routine maintenance changes on the equipment.
Thank you. Any questions? Communications.
We received a complaint and a question about open burning. There was a situation over the weekend where somebody had been doing some burning of debris in a burn barrel, and it caused a big hazy cloud over some of the neighborhoods. So the complainant was asking about, what rules we follow and how does that work. And we do follow the county burning rules, and just this afternoon I got packets of information in my email from the county about open burning regulations. So we're gonna put these up on the website. It's rules about what you can and cannot do, and then we have a one-page fact sheet that they provided, which is also helpful. And the key point that they have in bold is fires may be no larger than 3 feet wide by 3 feet long by 2 feet high. That's basically the size of a recreational built-in fire pit, 3 by 3 by 2. You cannot have like large burn barrels where you burn debris or construction materials or anything like that. There is an exception for that is for a construction site when it's under 40 degrees for heat, but that's not applying to anybody around here. So the short rule is you have to, any open fire has to be a small recreational size, has to be 15 feet away from any adjacent property line or any house, and no large scale burning of that, like yard debris. And there'll be complaint information if you get a complaint, or residents are having an issue in their neighborhood. This is all through the county, so that the county, there's a complaint for the county as well.
And you said the fire department was notified?
They were notified of the first, on that Saturday, I believe it was, because somebody was concerned that it was a fire, so.
So you're responding to the person that reported it to us?
Yes, I'll be responding, and I'll be getting this information on the website, and then I will contact that property owner that was doing the burning and just give them this information as well about
What
the
did the fire
regulations.
department say?
Oh, well, it was not an active fire that they needed to put out,
Okay.
so, yeah.
Any other questions? Planning and zoning.
No report.
Our tax collector treasurer could not make the meeting tonight. We have his normal reports. He'll be reviewing the audit, and we'll be getting together to give Gwen any comments by Monday. Do I hear a motion to approve the August bill list?
Move that we approve the August bill list in the amount of $33,348.06. To ratify August prepaid bills in the amount of $13,242.75. and to ratify August payroll transfers in the amount of $23,825.82.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Do I hear a motion to accept the 2023 police pension MMO?
Move that we accept the 2023 police pension MMO in the amount of $9,928 and the 2023 non-uniform MMO in the amount of $14,264.
Is there a second?
What was the last figure? 14?
$14,264.
Oh, okay. I heard it back, sorry.
Is there a second?
There is.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Aleppo Township Authority.
No report.
Quaker Valley Ambulance Authority.
I'd like
Commissioner
to present a motion to adopt the resolution recognizing Quaker Valley Ambulance Authority on the occasion of its upcoming 50th anniversary and thank them for their years of service.
Second.
Haluka. Any further discussion? Motion passes. Thank you very much, Commissioner Haluka. Quaker Valley COG.
No report on the operations, but I'd like to draw attention to the notification that they're having their annual dinner, the Edwards Club, on October 5th. And I've been enjoyed the last 2 years, give me a chance to meet and greet people from the other COGs, which I would probably not have the opportunity to do. So I would draw your attention to that. Perhaps you have the date, show up.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Solicitor.
Yeah, so I actually attended remotely a municipal solicitor's continuing legal education seminar last week. And two things were brought to my attention in terms of new legislation, which may or may not concern you, but I thought I would bring it up. One is Act 74, which is a fireworks law. The fireworks law in Pennsylvania has changed a couple of times, and initially, you were not permitted to privately display fireworks in what they call consumer fireworks. So you as individuals couldn't blast off rockets in your yard. And then they changed that law to permit consumer fireworks so that anybody who wanted to could blast off rockets under certain, parameters. Well, that didn't go over real well, so now there's a compromise bill, this is the third one, which says you're allowed to have them under certain circumstances, but your local municipality can regulate that through a permitting process. So the question is, if you are interested, do you want to control and regulate consumer fireworks displays? You now have that power. And there are a number of ordinances, draft ordinances, model ordinances, which the association has provided. So if that's something you are interested in, or if you have questions about it, I can answer them. If you want me to prepare a draft or a proposed resolution which regulates this type of fireworks display, I'm happy to do that. Second act, Act 56, is essentially a tax forgiveness type of law, which says
I'm sorry, for what?
taxes.
Tax forgiveness.
Tax forgiveness.
Okay.
So if somebody mistakenly fails to pay their property taxes, and I believe it's the first year of occupancy, they're now entitled to some forgiveness period. It's just for that initial period where they mistakenly thought they weren't on the hook for the taxes. It's mandatory. Every municipality must adopt it. And the way it's set up is kind of weird because you pass a resolution that directs your tax collector to fulfill the requirements of the act. Why? We're scratching our heads, why would a municipality have to authorize the tax collector to follow the law? You would think that if the
Tax
law
collector has to
says what
follow
it
the law.
says, the tax collector has got to abide by it. And it is mandatory. So we're still trying to figure that part out. I asked the question, like, why are we doing it this way? And I never really got a good answer. But I think you're gonna have to pass a resolution, and I don't think you have a choice. So I'll have something ready for you.
I have a question. Is this a forgiveness of the late penalty fees? Is that, they're not forgiving their
The
tax?
principle, I do not think so.
It
I
is
think
just a forgiveness of the perhaps late fee charges that would be charged by
Correct.
the tax collecting agency?
Sorry if I didn't make that clear,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
And that's
Leave it
all,
for
yeah,
now.
unless anybody has any
Informative
questions, I don't have anything further.
Sewickley Light Up Night.
So, we've received a response from one community. One community has donated $1,000 toward that. The other community that is local that I've heard from said that they're gonna be discussing it tomorrow night. And, apparently the budget for the whole event is somewhere around $30,000, and they receive sponsorships for a good half of that, and so it sounds like the borough costs somewhere in the $13,000 to $15,000 range per year. That's the information I have so far.
And who primarily benefits?
Of the entire area.
The
Yeah,
merchants,
I
The
think
merchants.
yeah.
it's an evening that I know residents from all the communities do attend, you know, it's a thing, but.
Yeah, it's a huge thing in the area, actually. It's standing room only,
Mhm.
actually, usually.
So, I mean, there's no timeline, there's no deadline for this, so, if you wanted to make a motion, if you wanted to table it again, if you wanted to, I don't know how you wanted to.
I suggest we table it and see what else happens over the next little while.
Okay.
Thank you. Good? Good. Redgate Road speeding signage, we've already dealt with. New business. Citizen participation. Nothing. Well, welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Nice to see you again.
That's the kind of participation we like, right?
Do we require an executive session?
No.
Therefore, meeting adjourned.
Thank you, sir. Did you copy the ordinance books?